Hello, everybody. Write me in the chat if you can hear me well, so we can continue. I hope you guys everything is okay. YouTube is not shut yet in Russia, but we are apparently waiting for it to happen this week, maybe next one. Anyways, I just won't be able to do live chat, but I probably handle out uploading videos and so on. So, yeah, thanks, guys. If it's okay, I would like to tell you why I started this video today about subway construction, because a bunch of speculations going on. I've probably been telling you some stories about construction of subway in Moscow and all the anomalies that connected with this case. In general, if we can talk about it briefly, they started it without any geological intelligence. When I say it intelligence, I mean examination. So nobody was doing any tests, nobody was drilling, nobody was, no specialists were related to this construction, beginning of this construction in Moscow at least. And even they didn't have any technologies. They didn't have this shield that is going through the tunnels. They call it проходческий тоннель. I like to actually translate it in English. Tunneling tunnel. Oh, really interesting. Tunneling tunnel. They didn't have this tunneling tunnel, which looks like a Mayan calendar if you look at it. Similar to some other things that we've been discussing with Mike Ferreira when he had his group, Ancient Minor Earth, going on. He was also talking about that stuff, and we were also having some speculations and discussions in that group. But now this group is in pause. But anyway, so some anomalies were pretty much visible, and if you go to the Museum of Subway Construction in Moscow, you won't find much evidence there also. But Moscow has one of the largest networks of subway in the world, I believe, maybe top 5 subway length, but it also has very deep stations. In the beginning of construction, they were not doing very deep stations. And that what connects this construction and its anomalies with the construction in Paris. Because from what I've seen on the evidence, well, let's go to the screen share. I hope somebody else will join us a little bit later. And I think you can rewind the stream. If you haven't seen it beginning, you can also watch it in record, or you can rewind and see what's happening. But anyways, let's see. Okay. I hope you can see what I'm showing. There's plenty of footage, different pictures. You can scroll through them. You can find them in sources. Plenty of them, very interesting, including this one that I've put on the thumbnail. It's when the subway was already constructed, of course. It's not being excavated or something here. It's just the flooding that they experienced. Okay. Let's see. Also some procedures showing that people were living, people were doing their things while all this stuff was proceeded. So nobody actually tells that it wasn't like, nobody was a witness or something. Yes, there was a bunch of witnesses, a bunch of examinations, a bunch of footage, unlike we had in Moscow. And so many footage, so many footage. You can go all the way to the sources. And you can see some strange things, but we're going to talk about a little bit later. Okay. First thing is what I found in probably 2015, 2016, maybe even earlier, when the topic of Moscow subway construction was kind of hyping in Russian alternative community. Many people started writing their posts on Paris, including this. Let's see, this post. The Paris metro is a legacy of bygone civilization. If you study the history of the Paris subway, you will find the fact that almost all the tunnels were already dug, and the rails were laid in them before the official opening of the subway in 1900. This means that already before the beginning of 20th century, there were technologies that allowed the massive laying of tunnels hundreds of kilometers long. And this fellow Cat 779 also has this little breakdown from the history of the Paris Metro. It was opened on July 1900 for the World Exhibition. A ticket on the first line, Chateau de Vincennes, Port Malo, cost 15 centimes of all francs for like 15 cents of all francs for the second class and 25 centimes for the first. Most of the lines in the center, probably Cat 7071 means that the center of the Paris, were built by 1920. And also she or he has this video which shows how the stations were built. Like, first one was built in 1900, then some other tunnels were dug, and so on. So, well, literally, yes, it was kind of built, mostly it was built before 1920. So, as you can see, the speed of construction is very intense, if not to say anything else, to be modest actually. But as you can see, really, it was expanding very well. Not the temps, not the what the pace that we have right now in Moscow when we're constructing like 100 subway station in 10 years, but kind of like that. So 1916, that was during World War One, by the way. And we also have some other constructions, including the transfer station between lines, which supposed to be having, yes, as you can see, before 1933. Look at this map. It's already big, right? Let's go to 1916. So really big map, I would say. So very advanced construction speed. Also, we have some other words that she says, or he, I think that's she, but anyways, how it was built and why it was built so quickly, is not indicated. The features are short holes between stations. Probably some translation is misleading, but I hope you understand. A high density of metro network in the city center, and the design of the first station in the Art Nouveau Art Nouveau style by designer Hector Guimard. The metro was built with varying intensity over throughout the 20th century, extending their lines to the suburbs. And she highlights this means only one thing, that we have been building with our technologies for decades. The bygone civilization built much faster. Well, it's true and it's false at the same time, and you're gonna understand that a little bit further. Okay, so also she kind of calculated that Paris Metro has 14 numbered big lines plus 2 short lines, former branches of the third and seventh lines. The length of the tracks is 220 kilometers. Very interesting. How you would like that. 303 stations, including 63 transfer stations. Since the interchange stations belong to more than one line, the total number of stops or stations on all metro lines is also very interesting. 383. 8 is 33, as RV is saying. So let's say that's pretty Masonic number. But anyways, the average distance between station is 562 meters. Almost all the lines underground, there are only 21 above ground stations. So the calculation is simple. 303 minus 21 is 282 underground stations. So pretty much big number. And also she promotes this video from the construction. Well, probably we're gonna return to it a little bit later. Okay, that's the video. Okay, so we have another guy. I followed this fellow for pretty much long. I was already shown his ideas in one of my first videos referring to his research, including the research on mining and ancient mining. So this guy is named Sivet. I believe he's from Krasnoyarsk, Siberia, but anyways. So he also says that if you make a video on his research material, you also refer to him and his links. So you might as well find his name, Sibvet, and Google. He has a lot of material, very interesting one, including on Mathlot and many other. So the metro in Paris is one of the oldest underground transport communications in Europe. It appeared in the early 20th century. Why the country's government agreed to such huge spending is a question. Well, probably because they like to spend budget like we do today. It is unlikely that at the time there were traffic jams from trams, cars, and the first cars on the streets of Paris. So he says like there were no traffic jams at that time. Why did they construct it? That it was decided to move part of the traffic to the townspeople underground. Probably some misleading translations here with Google, but anyways. But there are a number of oddities in the photographs taken during the large-scale construction that we can tell it was started. So let's start looking at all photos. So he says they began to deepen in the squares of the city, central parts of the city, intersections, of course. And when opening the ground, some tunnels with stone vaults were discovered. In places inconvenient for builders, they were destroyed in order to get inside. Well, of course, when you do excavation of the surface, you obviously find some communications of a prior by older networks. Now we call it collectors, but you call it sewers, so that's wrong translations. Stone sewers were also opened. It was probably the sewer, of course. Judging by the fact that its pipes were also destroyed, they didn't know about it and did not use it. Um, well, kind of. Let's read further. What can be understood from these photographs? What can be understood from these photographs? The first thing that raises my question is the smooth walls of the upper tier. It seems that the bolts were concreted and began to go down, and stumbled upon an ancient tunnel with arches of stone. It was used to transport the rock with trolleys, little carts. Yeah, we can see what he's saying from these photographs. Perhaps we can go here and enlarge some even more. That's Boulevard de Magenta, the March 1906, from the book du chemin de fer métropolitain municipal de Paris. Construction du chemin de fer métropolitain municipal de Paris. Okay. Yeah, what we can see, what I can see on this rather high resolution is really that the bolts or the walls on the ceiling were kind of concreted, and you can see the level of the further excavation and little tunnels here and a ladder here. So probably yes, these carts were used to transfer and moving of this soil, of this earth, of, mud and clay probably, to the outside, moving them up on the surface, cleaning the tunnels and so on. So kind of agreeing with what he's saying here. Let's go further. Also, here you can see the builders of the subway reinforced the ancient masonry. Well, I wouldn't be calling that masonry, but that looks like the wall or the side of the previous tunnel, of course. Well, it's constructed of some blocks, of course, but if here we see some facade type of rock masonry, here we see the wall construction masonry, which is more primitive, and we can go to these pictures and take a look at them with more resolution. Let's see here. Yeah, they were concreting. As you can see, reinforcement and concretion, rebars here, probably prior to concreting this place, flooding it with concrete and reinforcing it. Because definitely these slurry type of walls or facade covering of the ancient tunnels is simply wouldn't have been decent enough or relevant enough for the future subway lines. So we kind of agree with what he's saying. Let's go further. Although this side is kind of primitive and could be not sewers type of tunnel, but maybe something even older than sewers. Maybe that was a tunnel used by somebody, because that's the center of the Paris. Maybe it was used for escaping the city. Who knows? We actually don't have the photographs of this place prior to the start of construction. So these are not far from the only examples. We look further. And we have two more pictures here. Let's go to, let's see here and find these pictures if we can find them. Yep, that's the picture. I don't know if you can see it, but it has like this concrete marks, I would say, or some, bar, little planks or bars which are visible on the top of the ceiling. Although really we can see the clearance of the tunnel and evacuation, taking away all this petrified mud, to say the least. But anyway, let's go further to read. Yeah. Here workers disassemble the old sewer or tunnel, and the rock is taken out along the part that has not been yet destroyed, not expanded. The vaults of the new metro tunnel are concreted. So he agrees with the official concept from this original book. Yeah, you can find it in the internet. Chemin de fer métropolitain de Paris. So all these pictures, most of these pictures are from this book, and they also have descriptions in French. But you can cut them out from here like this, I believe. Oh no, not here. But for example, this book is also explaining. You can read that. Le chemin de métropolitain de Paris. So you can even translate it, copy, paste, and translate it in Google and find out many interesting things about this construction. But anyway, let's go to another picture. In general, construction technology is interesting. First, they pass a low and wide passage underground, concrete the vaults, and then go deep down. I mean, not deep down, but deeper down. Or another assumption, the builders strengthened or reinforced the vaults of the more ancient wide but low tunnel, and then increased its height by deepening down. Very interesting proposal. As you can see, looks like it has some base, it has some ground, at least to guess it this way, because too many photos show that, as you can see here or anywhere else, that these tunnels existed. So obviously we cannot deny that the tunnels were prior, and some of them look like sewer tunnels, some of them look like evacuation tunnels, who knows, because we don't have enough photo footage prior to the start of construction. But definitely we can speculate this way, right? Let's see if everything's okay, because sometimes I screw up and nobody hearing what I'm saying. Oh yeah, probably everything's okay, but nobody is saying that I suck and my mic doesn't work. Anyway, let's go back. So he says what? He says that construction technology is interesting. Yeah, definitely interesting. In every square in Paris, from where they began to go deep underground, destroyed sewers and ancient tunnels are visible. Of course, as I've been saying, communications of ancient times are present on all the footage, different shapes, different types, sewer type, evacuation type, and other type of tunnels are visible. And according to the information about what was prior to Paris, you will find that some maps show that Paris was founded on the ruins of ancient Roman city of Lutetia. Nobody even denies that, but sometimes they forget about that city, that antique city, and just say that, well, everything is pretty modern. But, well, I kind of doubt that because the network of tunnels is very, very dense, I would say the least. Okay? In every square in Paris, from where they began to go deep underground, destroy sewers, and ancient tunnels are visible. From these examples, we can conclude that the builders of the Paris metro were greatly helped by these ancient catacombs. Rock was taken out through them, and they were strengthened or reinforced with concrete and rebars, of course. They were expanded, and the volume of soil work, groundwork, apparently was much less if driving was done without them. If the all this car driving, probably. Small tunnels under Paris are sewers and storm water, probably wrong translation. So when you have a huge heavy rains, we call it ливневая канализация in Russian. Let me just translate it. Storm sewer, yeah. Okay. According to legend, under every ancient city, there are similar tunnels that from an old building you can get to another or outside of the city. Perhaps they were indispensable element in the construction of the cities in the past. Security systems for the elite and ordinary citizens in case of war is what I've been saying, evacuation tunnels. So one of these explanations why Paris needed such a large scale underground construction at the time when there were no traffic jams in the city, yet is that this way older communications were masked, adapting them to the needs of the city within a future perspective. Okay, so this is his explanation. We can also found many material in Russian, I believe in French too, where people totally go step by step through this construction and explain pretty much every photo, every footage. How did they manage to connect these tunnels, these passages? What was the height? What was the depth of each? When they were having open works, like opening the streets and constructing the roof of the tunnels, reinforcing them. When they were creating so-called intersections. So this guy actually he was researching the official version, and that's why we can read some of it too. some lines. The law of March 30, 1898 officially designated 6 metro lines to be built first. The first 3 lines, including the third line, were to be built within 8 years from the date of the declaration of public benefit, which is a mandatory precision for construction in France. So before March 30, 1906, the next 3, they were constructed before March 30, again, 1911. An additional 3 lines, including lines 7 and 8, were built after the completion of the main network of 6 lines. So they're supposed to be designed, as the guy says, because, it's just imagine you dig one tunnel. Let's return to here, right? So they created this line in 2 years, let's say. Let's follow the official version. Okay, first line. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 stations in 2 years without any geology, any tunnel, tunnel in shield, we call it shield, without any equipment of modern times, with the pace of modern times, even faster sometimes. And we are not even saying and talking anything about the construction and decoration of the stations themselves, right? It's supposed to be, fixed, right? Because it's not just digging the tunnels, it's also doing this, I would say, other construction things, which we called well, anyway, forgot the word. Anyway, then we go to other ones, and let's see. 1903, we have one intersection already at Charles de Gaulle Etoile, Port Dauphine. Okay, and Charles de Gaulle also here as intersection. So already 2 tunnels were intersected somehow. So everything is well designed. Then we have another intersection here on Bastille Station, Republic Station, Pete Lachaise Station, and some other stations. So falling down to this. This is enormous underground construction without any modern equipment, only with pure knowledge of engineering skills, probably some labor force which was also skilled. We don't see much people also on the footage, but I believe somebody was involved at least, because the pace is very high. Decorators, engineers, miners, well, you name it, who was employed here. So all these lines are highly precise, because just imagine if you have like a little screwing up in designing and measuring this stuff, although you don't have any geological intelligence. You have to know all the sewers network. You have to know everything, including how the sewers were constructed. What is the decline angles on each turn? What is the width of each sewer tunnel? How can you fit this or that tunnel or line or intersection in that particular spot? Okay? And I don't see those examination documentations in those official sources right now. So it starts with originals of metropolitan construction lines, extension progressive the reserve, and so on. So, I mean, this is very brief for such work because, if you don't have this geological documentation, these blueprints of geology of these undergrounds, of everything measured, just like in Moscow, they didn't have it here too. So this is the similarity, which is definitely the anomaly. I don't know why Sivet didn't mention it in his research here, but who knows? Actually, maybe you can find me some blueprints that were used prior to construction and so on. Maybe you know French better than me, and you can find some answers to this. But you cannot find it, at least in these pictures. I could not find it. So if we go further, we probably find some answers to how did they cross the rivers, how did they do some other things. So at least the pass of the eight, the deepest line, there's level of 16 meters underground. So such a huge work in construction because everything's supposed to be solid, and it's for years, guys. It's still working. I didn't hear much about reconstruction or general reconstruction of those lines of, mm, rebuilding them or something. No. Paris is living cities. Yes, probably they have a partial reconstruction, but general reconstruction, I didn't hear that. Maybe you can find that answer too, and write me in a comment if you can find it. So all this is not a blueprint. It's a scheme of what was already done. It doesn't has any length, as you can see. It's a cut, a visualization. Sometimes it's not even original. Sometimes it's even in German, in Russian. So also has some explanation about underwater construction. When they needed to cross the rivers, they were freezing the water and so on. So I confirm it with my fellow friend from Moscow, who's right now Moscow constructing tunnels also in subway. And he confirmed that this is possible with their ancient times. And look at this, they called it saison or caisson. They were using them during this river crossing. Many pictures of that. So talking about steel and metal construction in Paris and the Tower of Eiffel and many other construction anomalies that we've been seeing. So how much metal would they need to do such enormous amounts of work? I doubt that we find where all this metal was produced, but somehow, some way, they managed to get all this metal. So from somewhere, enormous steel construction, probably the boom of this steel construction um, worldwide. Okay, so these are not the only questions that we have, not the only strange things that we can find about that. But as I've been saying, the biggest question is who was actually planning this for the future, because as we found here, Uh, Prior to 1916, they already had this stuff. So who was planning it way before all this was done, was completed? They definitely had this underground map of Paris, and everything was well known for them. Why was that? Because it had so many tunnels network and probably was used for many years. Probably they had these maps, but they don't want to show it to us right now. I don't know why. They want to show it as an explanation of this pace, of this fast speed, as Sibvet was saying, because they were using ancient tunnels to speed up the process. Not digging the tunnels, but using the older tunnels, reinforcing them with steel and concrete, preparing it for the further exploitation. More than 100 years already passed, and some of these stations are still working. Not some of these, but look at how much of them are working. Okay, and even to 1933, look how many were also built further. Yes, they had a little pause, and some of the stations were blocked during the war, but that's not the point. Let's see if we can have this. Also, great video showing this short picture. 15 April 1895, Premier Plan Prévisionnel du Métro. So that's a newspaper, and it has like little plan. The first plan is been called, has been titled here, Prévisionnel du Métro. Okay, so they were trying to, put a general plan here, and that's the only plan that we can find actually. Going further, 1890, 1898. Étude des projets line number 1. So, are you kidding me? So, they were like preparing the project of the first line for 8 years. But can we actually find the project of the first line online anywhere? I haven't found it. Write me in the comments if you can find it. Okay, now we see this stuff here. Also, that's a sketch. That's not a blueprint. Going further, another sketch, not a blueprint. That's not another. That's another sketch, not a blueprint. Okay. That's the not even a photograph. That's a sketch or a drawing of the works. As what he said before, they were reinforcing the top, and I doubt that the concrete actually would be holding on without reinforcement. And as you can see, 39 seconds of this video, and still not a sign of any decent blueprint. Well, but we have this 1899 congélation artificielle de la Seine pour caissement et enforcement du caisson. So that's probably the freezing of Seine, the river in Paris. Looks kind of weird to me. Construction de la voûte nord-sud sur la place de la Concorde. Well, everything's already concreted. 2 years of construction, guys. 2 years of construction. Look at this. Job was almost done. How fast this concrete work was proceeded, we can only guess. What was the actual speed of this production? Some men in black, hidden handers, plenty of them, probably the masons of the current times. And we can see the visite des chantiers par Fulgence, bienvenue, les concepteurs du métro parisien. Visit to the metro construction site. Also, some other inauguration de la ligne number one, number uno, Vincent Nully. So, the opening of inauguration, Juillet 1900. So it's 1900. Probably the opening of some station. And that's it. That's all we have on the first station, guys. First line. The whole video does include much footage that we already seen, but that's it. History de la construction. Histoire de la construction du métro parisien. That's the channel. That's all he could find. Trust me, if there was some blueprints available, he would probably put them inside. As you can see, he was putting all those sketches there, different types of sketches, but zero blueprint. And that's the biggest anomaly that I found during this research. Well, hope that wasn't boring to find. Let's see. So, I'm not gonna be long tonight. Pronunciation, not accent low. Yep, 00. How it's going in Tenerife? Who's buying it that day? Fresh duck tunnels. I don't know. Officials do. People that do their research for 100 years and probably were schooling or studying this case. All these construction workers and metro subway station construction specialists were studying this case, definitely. And nobody asked any question about that. I hope you guys liked it. I'm not going to answer any questions today, actually. If you have several links on the topic that I've been mentioning, you can just wait till the video stops and post a comment with the URL of the link. It won't probably be appeared on the comment section for the rest, but I will see it in my moderation window and approve it, because somebody can be posting, I don't know, porno sites, porno websites links. So we don't want that, right? We don't want to be jammed for this by YouTube for spreading pornography or something. Okay, I hope you sick of popcorn. Yeah, I know. Might as well do some other chat with Roxanne soon on the politics and what's going on in Ukraine. There's plenty of stuff going on. And subscribe to Yellow Badge channel. And U002, you can join us if you want sometime. I'm not really having much free time lately, but as you can see, I'm doing more shows than usually this month, but who knows what's going to happen soon. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and I hope you guys liked it. So see you later with more topics. I hope I answered your question: construction or excavation? Definitely the second.